Hello, hello. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good day. So, welcome to another Weird Paint stream. I'm coming to you today with something special. Each stream feels special and each stream is unique in its own way. But tonight I wanted to showcase the best souvenir I got from Polish Volleyball Nationals, which seems ages ago, but it was only like a little more than a week ago. So each participant got these wonderful mat, and mine shows, of course, Zoraida. But the thing is that she's stylized in this classic Slavic folklore clothes, and of course, she's holding a bowl of pierogi. So I think it's a super cute thing to place next to you gaming mat, and also for the sake of clarity, it's pretty good, especially when you face opponents like EVS, right? Where they want to see the discard pile and the conflict pile, and there are some instances where this really matters. So this is super nice. Well, buy it from very solid material, and I'm definitely going to carry it by default in my miniature bag. But that's something that I wanted to show you. I will be also doing a little bit of voiceover after the Polish nationals, but today I have this lovely miniature, and this is a Neverborn miniature. This is a Neverborn. This can be explorers. This can be outcasts, I believe. Yeah, so at least three factions. So unique in itself. Oh, you don't want to know what would go in Mama Z's pierogi. Just based on the stories we got in the book and how she treats people who come to her for advice or future seeing. And no. I don't think we want to know that. So that's the Unseelie Engine. I don't even know how to say it properly. Beats me. But it's essentially a robot, like an ancient machine. I have no idea, to be honest, how it is connected with the story of Castore or Neverborn in general. I would assume that somehow maybe it will be explored, no pun intended, in the next book, this part of the story, what happens uh, that they actually met. And this is and this is obviously the from the title box where we had Castore Fervent and Thierry the Architect, I believe. And this is like this massive Atlas figure. So we have a few things going here, and my plan for this stream is to paint this guy, and it's going to be difficult to get good focus because there is just so much happening. Let me just maybe readjust my camera slightly. So the plan is, first of all, to paint, well, maybe I'll start with the base, going for some kind of desert look. We have this cactus. I still need to see what color are the flowers on the cactus because I have no idea. I'm not a botanist. Again, no pun intended. And the plan is to have some lights going maybe here, maybe around the eyes as well, some object source lighting, and have it painted in like pure silver, but with hints of blue glazes. So I'll be doing a lot of glazing, and the plan is to paint it silver so that it looks rather flat, but then I will be tweaking the depth of the shades with a variety of washes and glazes, and then I will move to this thing he's holding. So my thinking is that for the majority of it, I will use this color, which is called Storm Surge Green. It's a color shift color. So it would look nice because when you rotate it, it changes color depending on which angle you look at it from. I will just need to give it a very, very, very good shake. And that will, of course, I have some tools for the job. And then those flames or those spell effects. And for them, I'm thinking either pink or maybe blue. I think I'll go with blue flames with some additional dry pigment around it. So without further ado, let's just get started. And let's start with the base before I move on to painting other elements. So for the base, I think I'll go with some rich brown, maybe some kind of khaki brown. Let's see if I actually have the right color. See, it's nothing is really planned in great detail. I'm just tend to go with the flow. So I'll start with bronze brown, then I will give it some khaki and maybe some white. So that's the start. That's the base. And I need to see the cactus flowers. What's the color? What could be? Okay, cactus flowers could be red, pink. Lovely. Yeah, lovely. That's just perfect. That's all I actually needed to know. See, so you can always learn something. And we'll start with this bronze brown because it's got this nice warm look, and I think it will nicely contrast with bluish metallics. So at this point in the stream, I'm kind of conceptualizing, visualizing it in my mind, where I want to take it, what I want to do with it, and just making first sketches. So this base will be painted, and you may notice that typically I start with very bright base coat, but this time you can see it's mostly dark. Only those flames are base coated closer to white, and the main reason being that, well, with metallics I need black base coat. So I'll go with the whole body of the robot, of the Unseelie of the robot. Let's just call it robot for simplicity's sake. And I will go with over it with matte black over the whole surface. Should have switched. I need to switch up the themes, because otherwise my work messages could still come popping. And while my part of office is either asleep or relaxing, like I am, and relaxing and sharing what I do with you guys. It's a big organization, so many people are in different time zones. So it's like 3 p.m. in the central part of the US, I believe. So those are still working hours for many people who could potentially be joining these streams. And, well, those who don't join can always check them out later on when they are uploaded to YouTube channel. So that's the base coat on the base. Let's rinse the brush and let's go with brighter color. So this one goes back. And I will now go with khaki, which is this different, colder shade of brown. And I will use dry brushing at this point mainly. I'll just give it a chance to dry completely. And then go with larger brush for dry brushing. And I will also, during the course of this stream, I will do a recap of Polish Nationals, which was a hugely successful event. First weekend of September, we had 30 players, I believe, and I have all I have all the schemes and strats listed in my Malifaux app, so I'll just need to pull it up. But it was, it was fun because we had a mix of experience and, let's say, tenure on the tournament stage of Malifaux. I was very, very happy to see people for whom it was the first tournament. And, that's what you should really do. I mean, Malifaux community is really welcoming. And if you come to a tournament, say openly that it's my first tournament. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just played with my neighbors, with my buddies. We played at home. And please don't kick my ass too much. People will do it. And, it's a fair statement to make. Now I will go with even brighter shade. And then maybe I will apply a glaze just to keep things more interesting. So that was a good mix of people. We have a few people who are clear-cut favorites for top places. Well, there are some really good players, and they are good because they invest. Well, they have experience. But they also invest more in the game, right? They play in Malifaux World Series on Vassal. They meet regularly in local gaming club every week, every other week, and it's also something that just need to be mindful of, that you're bound to bump into people who are better than you, who have invested more in game than you have, and who are maybe just more experienced overall in this hobby, and that's also, I reckon that's also fine. I definitely had some games against such people that tourney, and they were highly enjoyable, despite the fact that I was clearly out of my depth in terms of level that my opponent presented. It's just I think that the main difference, well, the first difference that you notice when you play against a more experienced, better player is how they position their miniatures, how they limit your options without engaging you directly, and that's clearly the indication that that person would be on, let's say, higher tier of gaming. And then they know their miniatures inside out, and even if they don't know yours that well, they have the skill to adapt and react on the spur of the moment, essentially, without having this paralysis analysis situation. So now I think I'll go with yellow wash. Just a quick yellow wash to be applied over the whole thing. And I will keep it very, very bright at this point. Maybe I will add a hint of orange in the recessed areas. I want to have it really vibrant and super bright because the miniature will be in cold metallics. So I want this nice contrast going from the get-go, because then once I start even applying black to reinforce the base coat, to already start working against the color on the base coat. On the color on the base, I meant. And maybe now a little bit of orange. I will use Glyph Hunt Orange from Contrast Range. So building a kind of dark desert atmosphere. And I will apply it in like patches so it doesn't dry super regularly. I want it to look a bit more, so to say, random. Okay, that's I think that will do it for the base, or for the most part. I can always bring back some of the color with glazes. Now I think I will go with warp lightning and apply it on the cactus, just to have green established as well. I will just thin it down, maybe not too much, just to have some solid green color going. Well, seems like it doesn't really need thinning down. And we have our green looking strong, looking good. Once it dries, I may go over it with one more layer to kind of reinforce the color. And maybe now it's time to apply some red. So I'll apply red to the petals of those lovely flowers. Base will be painted in colors highly in contrast to what you can see on the robot. Okay, all right. I will adjust the way I hold the camera. I will put it further. It's a bit of a clunky miniature because it's quite big, but I can see that I need to adjust it. But thank you for drawing my attention to that. Really appreciate it. I don't want to lose it, right? I just that was for me
pushing it.
areas which are beneath nicely.
finished. Inside that will be silver. So he started 10. Sorry, I can just something, but again, cost me a game. this again. This story assassinates spread about hidden habits again between just quality from that. Put some edge highlights. To silver on the right. So gave me the because I know my place, I know that if someone other thing What I did go and I have phone calls back times, but I never really tried playing the kings. just like When you look into the it's just a perception. Just floating and crochet. I hope we can do something about it. But in the meanwhile, that's the engine. And I mentioned earlier that I have no idea if there are any. All right, let's see. I will keep on speaking. I mentioned earlier that I have no idea if there are any kind of indications that this model is somehow connected with the Neverborn. Was it discovered near the site where Castor was buried, or... All right, good to know that the voice is back, that the sound quality is fine. So since we have our Malifaux expert on the lore, do you know if there is any kind of specific reference that would point to connection between Unseelie Engine and Castor? Or is it just something that will yet be explored potentially in the future? Let me get a sip of water while I wait for it to dry. Okay. Now moving back to the flames. I think I'll do one more with, maybe now I will switch to darker turquoise, and for that I will switch to GW color, and I will use, let me just find it in my... Alright, there it is. Terradon turquoise, which is darker than what I'd used before. You can probably even tell by looking at the containers with paint. Let me just give it a good shake. All right, so that's something already. So ancient, guarding the area of the forest that Castor was mapping. All right, good to know that there is some potential connection. Okay, now the darker turquoise that I will keep on applying, focusing on the tips of those flames. But again, rather than going heavy, I would much rather have smooth transition, so that will come in stages. So just looking for tips of those flames, putting some heavy turquoise there. And I will, over time, I will get to pure black for the final touch. But for now, it's still turquoise. And you make it sound so cute. Castor was napping, right? Just taking a power nap that lasted, what, a couple centuries? Long enough for generation of mortals to come and go, I think. Though I don't remember the exact timing of that. Now I need to look at it from the top and see, okay, where I need to focus the highlights on. I mean highlights. It's not the highlights, it's the reversal approach. Rather than going from dark to bright, I go from bright to dark. But that's one way of painting the fire. Of course, it's a magical fire, so it doesn't really matter if you go from bright to dark or dark to bright. Oh, I'm sure the kind of blanket that that you sleep with as a child until it's essentially one piece of thread. So again, I will use the hair dryer to make sure that it dries completely before I apply next layer. So a lot of hair dryer action tonight, but well, that's what you get to do when you want smooth transitions and you do not have all the time in the world, and I have just 3 hours to paint this lovely guy. Although I do have some other projects, so if I finish ahead of time I could still jump onto something else, but I'd just rather focus on one mini per stream. So now I'm applying the same color, so again, Terradon turquoise over the same tip, but now the result is that it looks more black than turquoise towards the tips of those flames. Alright, I think that will do it for the dark turquoise. Maybe I will just move to pure black now. But I still have some highlights to follow up with silver. So there is still things I can do to him. I could still use this thing as a fluoro pigment for the final stage to really push this turquoise effect, but I'm still hesitant. I would need to put some white dry brush around to make it work effectively, but who knows. I think I will also put some tufts of static grass on the base. But again, that's something that I will do later on. Now I will go for pure black, and with pure black I will go to green black. And the reason I'm using speed paint or contrast paint or whatever I have handy instead of black acrylic paint is that it's pretty thin. The consistency is different and it will just latch onto the previous layer and kind of level itself to further boost this smoothness of transition from one color to another that I'm aiming for. I don't know if that's the most effective way of explaining my thinking as I approach it, but for sure it was the best effort at making it sound cohesive. Okay, now I think I will still go back to pure white. And try to tweak a little bit those transitions. Just to let some bits of white still visible in the recessed areas to further enhance this effect as if there was some kind of heat going on. It's essentially the same. I would paint, typically I would approach painting flames the same way, that I would put white in the areas which I would consider to be the hottest and brightest. It's just a different type of challenge when you paint magical effects, flame-like effects with colors that are not natural, because your brain needs to just adapt methods you know to different texture, different palettes, and different pattern. And again, it's always a good idea to look from different angles. Now time for tweaking the silver. I need some water first. Yeah, I think it's time for the silver. So for silver, I will go for metallic. Put some of it on the palette and thin it down, but it's not. It reacts differently than other acrylic paints because the pigments tend to flake off and it can become a bit messy. So you want to have good control of the mixture. And now what I'm doing is I'm edge highlighting all the bits from those rings that he's holding up. And that will kind of give it a better frame. I just need to take my time, make sure I paint it from all angles. And not overdo it just to paint the very edge. Okay, and the same on the outer ring. And the inside part as well, just getting some silver going there as well. Maybe not necessarily here. It's here I could still retweak it to pure white. Now the tricky thing about doing a stream like that is that most of the changes I make now to the model are super subtle. So I'm trying to do as much voiceover on the process as possible because I know that, well, there are certain limitations of this way of transmitting the progress, but trust me, it's happening and it's changing. One small step at a time. But we still have half an hour to go, which is just fine. Because I can now take my time doing all the small tweaks I want to still implement. So maybe from the bottom as well. And time to do the same on the robots. Trying to add a light touch of silver to those cogs here, the edge of the chest piece. And also part of it, just bit by bit. Same with fingers, trying to make sure that they are all visible. So the previous layer of glaze also took away some of the shine, which means that if I place my highlights on the raised areas now, they will pop even more as the previous glazes just toned them down slightly. So here are some more examples of what I will be doing over the next roughly 30 minutes. Just looking for those areas which could benefit from a light touch-up of silver without ruining the composition. But the other thing that I reckon I won't be using anymore during this stream is the hair dryer. I think that the flames are, maybe I'll just add some of the white to the center to keep it slightly brighter to the areas, to this place where I believe it should be the brightest because it's the hottest most likely as well. So doing some edge highlighting on those shoulder pads. And oh, my stomach is rumbling. Probably should have had dinner before beginning my stream. Okay, I think I will go back to white. And it's the final 30 minutes of the stream, which is ample time for any kind of adjustments or tweaks I could still make. And you know, the fun thing is that tomorrow Doug will be streaming, and he will be doing another model from the same box. He will be doing Castora Fervent. So I'll make sure to pop in, because tackling such a beast is always a challenge. It's a large miniature with huge, bulky muscles and plenty of big surfaces, which are pretty challenging from the standpoint of a painter. And I would be keen to see how Doug approaches painting a model like that. I think I will still use some dry pigments to kind of bring it all together. Right, moving back to the center of the camera as I realized that I was just messing with the tips of the flames outside of the reach of the camera. Just want to make sure that those brightest elements are actually pure white. I think I still need to add a little bit of silver to the center of the core, to this ball-like thing in the center. Where did I put my water? Here's my water. And I will just try to make sure that I follow the kind of pattern that I see, because it's well textured. So it's just a matter of reaching it with the brush. If I can make it to the center and having a good tip with thin down paint and really highlighting those tiny nice curves and patterns that I see in the center. It's really hard to land solid brush strokes towards the center because it's all surrounded with those rings which are attached at different angles, making it really hard to land some brush strokes in the center, but it's doable. Still a fun challenge, and I can't really imagine painting it partially assembled, because then it would be such a massive effort to put it together after painting the separate pieces. It's just, I cannot really imagine doing that. Now, since I previously put some white in those spaces where those circles connect, I just went over them with automatic blue again, just to keep the transition smoother. Some white to be highlighted in the center here. And I will still work with maybe a few white just to further enhance those brightest elements within those flame-like things surrounding the core. And getting close to finishing this one, actually. It feels like, I'm just kind of messing around, touching here and there and not doing much, but it's just a way that you have to approach painting such models. A model like this is mostly the same quality. It's different things can be enjoyed. I would say that hard to really say which one I enjoy. Right now, I think it's nice because with model like this, might seem simpler at first glance, that there are fewer colors that you need to apply and you have limited palette, but at the same time, it really causes you to be super focused on what you're doing. It's hard to say. Can't really tell which one I like more. But, I think that for the most part, as long as it's otherworldly, unusual, then it's something that I will enjoy. I just don't have, I can paint rank and file miniatures, troopers that look similar. Fortunately, there aren't that many of those before. You get 3 similar miniatures max. But I would say that as long as it's otherworldly, unusual, I'm happy to paint whatever it is. And here I just wanted to make sure that there are at least two different types of metallics, and that those flames would be partially at least reflected on the model. And I can still add some silver to the lower sections of the armor. And just placing a few highlights still. Alright, also the mask, or the face actually, since it's a construct, so trying to hold it at an angle that allows you to see what I'm doing. So putting some highlights on the face to make sure that it stands out a little bit more. Okay, there we are. I think it's now time to start working with those fluid pigments. So in preparation for that, I will use the most simplistic technique ever, which is the brutal dry brush. Just dry brush, nothing really complex about it. I'll just grab a brush which has a thick bristle, but it's not huge. Okay, this one should do. Remove the excess on the tissue, and maybe I'll just put it in some areas closer to the center, which will be followed with some of the dry pigments. And that will be it then. I mean, just the rim of the base, and well, I have almost 20 minutes to go, so that should be sufficient. Some of the brighter spot would be also closer to the core, as I started calling the midsection of it. I just want to make sure that there is a touch of white closer to the center of each of those whiter spots on those flames. I think I'm good to go. So, the penultimate step. I think so. Unless I change the course of action yet again. So now I want to make sure I keep a tissue that will absorb most of the dry pigment. I don't want it all over my desk. there is the model, and there is the pigment. It's one paint that I don't need to shake before I apply it. I'm just looking for the right brush to apply it. I think this one will be fine. And let's see how it goes. What could possibly go wrong? Nothing. It's just turquoise pigment. I don't want it to affect too much the area which is not part of this flame. That's why I'm holding it, well, almost upside down. And essentially what I'm doing now is just rubbing this into the structure, because this really boosts this object source lightning like effect. And will make it look like he's really holding something that's the source of light. So almost done with this. Yeah, now it's looking proper turquoise. Like things are blended in together better. And what I will do now is one more thing. I will use another brush to remove the excess of this dry pigment. Because in some spaces there might have been a little bit too much of it, and those are the areas from which I want to remove it. So just making sure that I gently but firmly spread it more evenly, and then as a result those places which were just dry brushed with pure white will help with this transition. Right, so pretty much the only thing that remains now is painting the rim of the base black, and I can call this model ready. I still think that I might add some static grass, some tufts of grass to the base, but that's a consideration to be tackled once I've applied varnish to it. Okay, let me just wrap it. You just need to be a bit more careful with dry pigments because they can easily get to places where you don't necessarily want them to be. So now let's just paint the rim of the base black. So I will detach it for a second from the holder. Use my matte black. It's such a nice change because this matte saturated black, it essentially provides a solid frame for the whole thing. So that's been a challenging stream for me, I would say, because it was all about painting this miniature with a somewhat limited palette. Right, final showcase coming right up. Just want to make sure that the rim of the base is clearly marked. Just clean the brush. And we still have 10 minutes to go, so more than enough time to showcase. And I will be taking pictures later in the week, maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow, maybe on Friday, and putting it on my Instagram, which I'm sure will be linked here shortly. Hey, thank you. You can see the process on my palette as well. I'll just try to move it slightly to the side. Right there with this. The Unseelie Engine in its turquoise glory. It was a fun model to paint for sure. I quite enjoyed that. I used different metallics, silver on the robot and color shift, so Storm Surge Green on those rings that it's holding. And while I'm used to painting flames, I mean the standard flames, right? So the red, orange, black, white, that's a combination that I've done a number of times. I've never painted bluish turquoise flames before, so that's a new experience, and I'm glad I was able to share it with you guys who watch this stream or who will maybe watch the recording later on. But the only thing that remains is just applying varnish and maybe putting in a few tufts of static rust to the base. But that's it. That's it for today, and thank you for sticking around. And make sure you check in tomorrow, as Doug will be painting Castora Fervent. But for today, it's everything. Thank you so much, and see you in 2 weeks' time. Take care. Bye.